Now, for our morning keynote, right on time, we will hear from someone who has walked a similar path to many of us rare parents and has become a fierce advocate for rare and medically complex pediatric communities here in the state of Texas. We connected to Adrienne through an organization called Tiana's Champions for Children, or CC4C, which works to improve the lives of children and families in Texas, including some of our own rare families with rare or undiagnosed disorders. Adrienne has been an outspoken advocate for breaking down barriers for those who live with a disability, including her own son Hayden and their caregivers. Please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Adrienne Ryholt.
Thank you. I just want to welcome everyone to San Antonio this morning and welcome to Texas if you're not from here. And I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm grateful to be here with Monica, who's the executive director of CC4C. And I was hoping, I'm not technologically advanced, my son was suggesting that I have a walk-up song. And that walk-up song was going to be, if any of you grew up in the 70s, 80s, or 90s and watched the Rocky movies for a form of context, my name is Adrienne. So you can, have the eye of the tiger as we're here this morning, but my eyes are all bloodshot. I'm already crying. It's too early on a Saturday morning, but you're all here. I really do appreciate this is an honor to be here. It's your first convention. A little bit about myself. I'm trying to make a synopsis of 16 years in this life. My life changed 16 years ago, and I'm gonna not start that way. But I am the mother of 3 children. My oldest is 17, and she is a very challenging, typically developing 17-year-old daughter, and then I have a 15-year-old son that has many complex diagnoses and is very rare, and I have an 11-year-old son that said, "Mom, say less" in this presentation. So that's where I am today. And why was I chosen? I have this picture that I'd like to show you all. I grew up in Montana and Colorado, if any of you are from here. Woo-woo? No one? So I thought this is really appropriate for the families that are here. You're on the same journey as me. As a rancher's daughter, I took the path less traveled. I had to take those dusty, windy roads or go find my own. And it was very, very challenging. And you have very little support, and often it's climbing uphill. And so I think that all of you here can relate to that today. And so I think that's why I was chosen to really share my story. I feel like a dinosaur when I say when I was receiving my son's diagnosis, my 15-year-old, there was no Facebook. So that's where we were on Finding Community. And the mission of KARES is something that really resonated with CC4C and the organization that I'm the advisory board member of, and your acronym and what it stands for: advocacy, research, education, and support. And I totally embody those things. I believe in them wholeheartedly. While I don't have the same genetic diagnoses for my son, he does have 26 diagnoses. Some of those are secondary and tertiary, but I kind of just stopped counting at that point. So I will take these out of order from where your acronym is, but when we're looking for that, I really hope that you embody that mission. And where I wanted to start with, and I'm sorry for those of you, this is early in the morning and some graphic pictures for breakfast, but what I wanted to start with is telling a little bit about my story and where I had the catastrophic diagnosis. My son was in utero at 20 weeks, and when you go to find out the sex of your child, I found out that he had a possible terminal diagnosis in utero. And so this first picture is a picture of the mom study. I was part of less than 200 people worldwide that was a National Institute of Health study of in utero surgery. And that was the first baby that had successful spina bifida surgery in utero, with his hand coming back out and then being put back in the womb and finishing gestation. And so I was part of that study. And that took place in San Francisco. I live in Austin, and we had to move to San Francisco very abruptly. And we were not randomized. If any of you are ever part of studies, I've been part of dozens. Sometimes you're randomized, and we were not randomized to be participating in that study. It has since now was very successful and is utilized worldwide. So that is a typical practice being done for spina bifida now worldwide. This is my son at birth. That's what spina bifida looks like. It's a very rare picture. His spine was on the outside of his body. I didn't know what any of this was. I had to start with research. And as many of you are new in your journey, you're trying to find as much information as you can about your diagnosis, and oftentimes there's very little. And again, I'm with you on that. While my son's birth defect is one of the most common permanently disabling birth defects, we were very rare. We were less than 200 people worldwide in 7 years. So he was born. He had his first surgery less than 24 hours old. He's now 15 and has endured 30 surgeries. And so this is a long synopsis of 16 years. Research takes a long time to really get from drinking from the fire hose. Where are we? You know, what do I know? I didn't know what, excuse me, I didn't know what spina bifida was. I thought it was scoliosis. I had no idea. He was diagnosed, as I had mentioned, with a potential terminal diagnosis. He was one of less than 4 that had ever been diagnosed with something called Arnold-Chiari 4. Arnold-Chiari 2 is what he has, is his technical diagnosis because he lived. So I developed a little infographic. I don't know, some of you might like a little infographic to help. I need that for myself to really try to get the broad perspective of how do I keep all of these wheels in motion? And I think that's what you really look at in your life, is how do you balance all of this new information? Where is your child? Where's your patient? And there's many people that have to help keep that going. I developed this for myself because at any point of time, there's a wrench thrown in your life. And that wrench can disrupt everything in that motion that's happening in that patient's life. And I really focused on, there's many big wheels, cogwheels that keep your life going. Financial, obviously, is usually the biggest stress. Medical, educational, as your children are aging, some of them might be older or not in school yet. And then community, and community is really where we are today. So I hope that through the mission of KARES that you are vulnerable with each other, that you connect, and that you will form community here today, because that's really what's so important. I will say that education, it goes a long way, so I have several slides on that. Education, this is my son, Hayden, and this was several years ago. We've been presenting at UT in public health for a number of years, and he loves it, so hopefully that'll get him some ease and acceptance if there's anyone at UT. But he loves UT, and he's been presenting there, and the other thing that he does is he self-advocates. And as he's getting older and better in his verbal communication, he is the one that owns his story, that he tells his story and he educates. Every year when he was in elementary school, he would talk about what made him different, because he's very visibly different. And he would talk about it, and we would do a show and tell. And we would start the day and pass around all of his medical equipment, because he travels with a nurse to school. So he has a lot of things that makes him different. Then we would go and say, and then here's all the things that makes him just like you and me. He likes chocolate ice cream, he likes sports, he likes all these things. It broke down a lot of barriers. It formed community immediately when you could say, here's the similarities that we have aside from our differences. So he's gotten quite good at advocating for himself. Through our advocacy in Texas, because I live in Austin, we've had some unfortunate changes. We are on Medicaid, and we had some unfortunate disruptions that prompted me to work in legislation. And so I bring him along as my sidekick, and he's had to testify in Senate hearings and in House hearings for many years on behalf of access to health care. And so he's gotten to do that, and we've done that on the state level for many, many years, and we've also had the opportunity to do it on a national level on MSNBC. So he enjoys the spotlight. It's fortunate for me that way. And one of our greatest accomplishments is through, like the work that you're all doing here, the state of Texas had really harmed access to care for a lot of children, and we had a grassroots group of families, all volunteers, that banded together. You know, I said we were like a garage band, and we helped pass legislation for patient protections. And it was one of our greatest bipartisan accomplishments, where we had unanimous support in the state of Texas. And I don't know if any of you've worked in legislation, but that's very rare. So we were very excited. This is our governor of the state of Texas. He also uses a wheelchair. My son's right next to him in his cute little wheelchair. And it's been one of our crowning moments of pride for all of the advocacy, the work that we've done. So when you're small, you can also be mighty. This is the slide that I felt when I was rehearsing this. My son kept saying, "Say less." But I thought this really resonates with the audience here today. Too often we suffer alone, and the burden is just too much to bear. And what I want to show you is those early years. We lived in a hospital. And about the first 7 years of his life, he was in the hospital for 3 months of every year for 7 years. And no amount of resources, spiritual, social, educational resources prepares you for a catastrophic diagnosis. There's nothing that you can do where you can carry that burden alone. And it gets you to be very humble, where you need to ask for help. You need to be able to receive help and to say when you need help. And I think that those are some of the hardest challenges, but also your greatest blessings in transforming your life. And when you can say, I need help, and your community wants to help you, and you've educated your family, and you've educated your friends, and they might not know how or what, but they want to help. And I think that that's been our biggest challenge, and that's, if anything, I hope to inspire you, to motivate you to be able to receive help, and that's what you're here for today. This is some of my favorite pictures I have on these slides. This is my son, and it's made it through Fox News. It's made it through all the state papers. When he was 7 years old, he had his 14-hour longest reconstructive surgery that he ever had, that most adults wouldn't survive. He came to Champions for Children. He had tubes that were attached to him, drainage tubes, for 8 weeks. And these football players came, and they embraced him, and they put him on stage. There are 4 pillars in Champions for Children that are just beautiful, that are really not exhibited anywhere else. And that first one, obviously with the nonprofits, is usually financial assistance. The secondary one, where they're visionary, is bringing a sense of community and supports to the entire family, siblings, parents, mothers and fathers, emotional well-being. And then one of the last things that they do is that they pair you up in your community to make you a hero. Your community gets to know you. They get to see your challenges, but they make you a spotlight. So you're a spotlight child. And Monica's happy to tell you more after this conference, but I know that time is limited. So they do so much, so many great things. We won state championship 2 years in a row, but only the whole championship 1 year while he was captain. And it's never been repeated since. And so he thinks that he brought them to the state championship for the football team. But this is him leading them out of the tunnel. And it was every single Friday for 2 years of my life that was exhausting. And I had to learn everything there was to do about football. But it was quite an extraordinary experience. And this is a picture of my family just a couple of years ago that I wanted to share with you. And there are some quotes in here through my presentation that, as you're going through these difficult times, good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. And while you keep getting beat down, and there's different times that will come up, the journey doesn't get easier. I've been doing this for 16 years, and it's getting harder, but you get stronger. You develop your supports. you become humble and you're authentic and you're brave in sharing your story. One of the last things that I want to share with you, and you're free to ask me any questions. That's why I wanted to end a little bit early, because we're all friends now. I've cried in front of you. You find me on Facebook, Yo Adrienne. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we're now good friends. But what I want to share with you is Hayden's motto from Champions for Children. Every kid gets a bracelet, and his is always be brave. He's one of the bravest people I've known. It's forced me into this life, into this world that I did not choose. And I've had to be vulnerable and brave to share this story and with each of you. And it's been a great blessing to be here and to meet this community. And I hope to get to know you all better. And I hope you all connect. So with that, this is not the close of this chapter of my life, but is the opening to a new journey. A little bit more. This was my family a few years ago. And I have since been remarried and now have 5 children in a blended family. So it was a rough journey getting here, but there are chapters that you close and new ones that you open. So thank you so much. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Oh, and I just asked Brianna to go find a box of tissues. So we can pass that around. Does anybody have questions for Adrienne? We have a floating mic back there. We can come to you. All right. Thank you so much. What an incredible testimony and reminder of the importance of our pillars of work to give us hope for the future. So a heartfelt thank you to you, Adrienne, for sharing your time and impactful story with us today. I know you have some kiddos that you have to get home to, so feel free to cut out. There's no judgment here. Since we have a few extra minutes, I would like to take this time to make a couple of announcements. Can I ask you a favor, Amanda? Will you get Brianna in here? This is a surprise. So since we're a little early on time, we are going to introduce a new gesture of gratitude and recognition for some of the key volunteers in our community. Many of you know that we have created a student intern program, which supports a lot of the administrative, communication, and finance needs of our organization, while empowering youth who are interested in medicine or genetics with hands-on experience in working with rare disease families and researchers. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to all of our student interns, Brianna, Geethika, who couldn't be here, Asha, who is in the childcare room, Olivia Philippi, who is here somewhere, and Addison Lord, who also couldn't be here and lives in North Carolina as well. So if any of you are watching, thank you so much for everything that you do. Today, we're presenting our first ever Outstanding Student Intern Award to honor the dedication, she's surprised, and tireless efforts of an exceptional intern who has demonstrated outstanding commitment to CARES mission. This particular student has been with us basically since the inception of the organization for almost 2 years, and she has been heavily involved in creating founding documents and policies for CARES. She recently graduated in economics. There's another one, public policy from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And she's graciously volunteered to continue her work with CARES as a finance fellow in the coming year. So Brianna Ramos, I would like to present you with the award for Outstanding Student Intern. All right. And she's just going straight back to work, you guys. I'm not done yet. A second Outstanding Volunteer Award today will go to a volunteer in our community who has made an invaluable contribution to our achievements at CARES. This person doesn't hesitate to jump in and do what needs to be done, despite being a busy rare parent. She's always looking for resources and partnerships that will strengthen our community and takes a real interest in supporting good science that will open new treatment avenues for KDM5C affected individuals. So I would like to present the first ever CARES Outstanding Volunteer Award to Miriam Rebollar del Raso. If you guys don't know Miriam, she is the parent liaison to our scientific advisory board. So the board thanks you, Miriam, for your work. All right. We're still running a tad bit early, so I actually have one more thing that I would like to announce. An exciting announcement for us here at CARES is that we were recently selected to participate in the Global Genes Rare Research Readiness Fellowship. It's a 6-month mentorship program for patient advocacy groups to explore the research that has already been done in our community and compare that to what needs to be done in order to get us closer to clinical trial readiness. This program will help us drive enrollment in our registries and data collection efforts, provide us with a corporate mentor to lend their perspective on the drug development process, and revise our research grant call for applications, which will launch a second cycle this fall. Ultimately helping us prioritize the gaps in KDM5C research so that we can become a more research-ready organization. Just want to extend a big thank you to all of our scientific advisors, a few additional researchers and clinicians who will give some input on a survey later this month to help inform this process. And then a big thank you to Johnny Chu and Sean Philippi, who will also be giving participating on the meetings related to this. So exciting and very proud that we are part of that program.